Hi, my name is Ray Rice. I run and operate a martial arts studio. It's in Forest City, North Carolina. It's a small county, Rutherford County. It's 50 miles either way to Asheville or Charlotte, if you can identify those two major cities. It's in the western North Carolina area. I started teaching in May of 1975, and been a lot of journeys and stories I could tell, but let's go back in history. Many years ago when I first started, I was 10, 11 years old. First started my boxing classes. There's a small little area in the county that we live here, and my dad being a Marine that he was, and we traveled a bit then until we settled down here in about the second grade level of my age. And you can imagine moving in an area where there were no people named Rice. So my last name was Rice, and all kind of little fights all the time on the play field and the ball field and everywhere like that. But that's the reason my dad kind of got me into boxing lessons. And back then, there was hardly any kids, no kids in the boxing class in the gym that I was in our little small town area. And like I say, we were in Hootersville, Mayberry, and still live in this area, and I still love it as home. As God, an old proverb says, bloom where you've been planted. But I've done the best I can here. But going back to my childhood, 10, 11-year-old, I started boxing, and got beat up a lot in there all the time. Like I say, it was mostly teens and adults, and me being small stature as I was, I had a hard time. But I seen a couple of friends of mine that moved in from up north, and there's a couple of guys that was bullies of the town, 3 or 4 of them, and they jumped my friend one day. And I'd never seen fighting like this before. And he used elbows and knees and grabbing the opponent and taking them down with jiu-jitsu, which I didn't understand what that was, or even karate at the time. But I seen this and recognized it as something different than just boxing. I said, I got to have some of this. And then, as they say, from that point on, it was history. So everything else is history since then. But I found a family, a couple of guys that was traveling to Charlotte. At the time, I carpooled with them, and I made my black belt in a Taekwondo school there, and I received my license at the time. I finally turned 16, and I got a black belt there, and I wasn't happy. I was at home. So I traveled to Hendersonville. My parents allowed me to drive up there twice a week, and I got a black belt in Aikido and that system. Still, it wasn't home. There was just something missing. And there's this young fella, he just got out of the service, opened up a school in, not too far down the road from us, Shelby, North Carolina. And his name's Steve Lazenby. He's my mentor. I look up to him, and any student that doesn't look up to their instructor, they're not much of a loyal, dedicated student. And I still, to this day, look up to that man for all that he passed on to me. He had it all down. He could do the grappling, the weapons, the fighting, and everything, but he just didn't enter that much in tournaments, or he didn't want his name exposed that much. But he was the best of the best. And like it says, some of the best fighters and expertise in martial artists are people that's unknown at this time. And it's always the best that never get recognized. But I studied with him many years, and he advised me and tutored me to open up a school, as I said earlier, in 1975. And for me, it's been history, and I still look up to him for advice and tutoring on how to run things and weapons. And I give all the credit to him. Of course, I've had to do the work, but I was kind of like a sidekick to him for many years. And I learned a lot by being a fall guy or a dummy or somebody for him to beat up on. But I still appreciate all that he's passed on. And I entered the tournaments. I got interested in entering tournaments, and everybody's got that ego thing about wanting to enter tournaments and beat somebody up or win a trophy. And I was always hungry for the competition edge. I got into the tournaments, done quite well. I won several Southeastern championships and things, but the point sparring championships always got me. Many times I went to championships, I'd fight my way all the way through, and of course the favorite of the area always would edge me out, and the judges, a lot of times, they do this no see, no point thing, and almost always I'd get booted out by someone not being able to see. So I got interested in kickboxing. And I said, if I get in there, you knock someone else out in there, there's no chance. It don't matter if the judge has seen it or not. You win the thing if you put them down for the 20 count. So I got interested in kickboxing, and again, I stayed in kickboxing for 22 years. I got to do a lot of traveling. I won some regional events and amateur, and I got up to about 20, 25 fights and was unbeaten. Had a perfect record. And I wanted to turn pro, and I found out that was a different side of the fence. I lost a fight or two, and I realized there's a lot of stamina, a lot of hard work, and there's a price to pay to be at the top. I started working real hard in 1980 and 81, and then disaster come. Our school was destroyed by fire, and having no insurance or benefits or grants or things like people got now, it was a hard, rough, rocky road from there on up. But I dug in where most people told me to quit and go back to my old job that I had. I had a really good paying job and benefits and things, but something inside me was tugging at me to keep going and not give up. So I kept going with the training, got my school started back, and a year or so later I was back into the kickboxing ring. And started fighting and got my name recognized, got on the card of a lot of well-known promoters, and I was always the undercard for several years. It took me 10, 11, almost 12 years to get recognized. And I got up to an age to where people say I was too old to fight anymore. I was hitting 30, 31, 32-year-old, and that was where some of my best fighting took place. I fought in 17 different states across the country. Won most all of my fights, had over 100 fights, and I got recognized from international promoters. I got to go to France, Italy, Russia a couple of times, fought in Canada, Montreal, Quebec many times. But as they say, things pass like a season. All those days are over now. I retired in 97, but I got to make a notch for my name and this time in kickboxing, and I got to meet a lot of nice people and rubbed shoulders with some of the best fighters in the world. So I just still teach here in the Far City, Rutherford County area in western North Carolina. I still teach kickboxing. We have some grappling. I do about 40 classes a week teaching the martial arts here at our martial arts center here in Far City. And I just threw the towel in. I quit while I was ahead. I won 3 world titles. I won a couple of national kickboxing championships, and I thought I'd quit while I was ahead, and I just turned 40, 41-year-old, and I was still in the kickboxing ring. So many advised me I better quit while I was ahead, and I took that advice, and I'm just teaching and hopefully leading people in a positive direction in this very negative world that we live in. So that kind of wraps up that on my history, and just a bit, as they say, this is just scratching the surface. And I could write a book, and we all could write a book on our life. And it's been a journey, and I hope those few that's followed has achieved something from it.